Hi there, and welcome to this particular lesson. This is a recorded lesson for the first assessment for 11 plus senior children who are in year 5. Okay, so now we're just going to go through this particular first assessment on the pharaohs, and please just follow me as you go along. But before we commence, just make sure that you read this comprehension exercise first of all. I just want to highlight a couple of things for you. First of all, just remember that here where it says BCE, that means before the Common Era. In other words, before Christ. Okay, so 3,150 years before the Common Era. That means before Jesus Christ came. Okay, so let's head on to the first question. Let's have a look. And the first question is, when did the first Pharaoh rule Egypt? And choose the correct answer. We've got various options here in front of us. And we can see that the first answer is basically right in front of us. And it's in the first line. And the first answer is going to be 3,150 BCE. Okay, so let's just click that and go to the next question. The next question is, identify why it is sometimes difficult to find precise dates about events in ancient Egypt. Then choose the correct option. So identify why it is sometimes difficult to find precise dates about events in ancient Egypt. Well, in this case, it's going to be this particular option here that tells us that there isn't very much surviving evidence because it was more than 3,000 years ago, and there isn't much surviving evidence. That's one of the reasons why we can't be sure as to why the dates are not precise. Okay, so let's go with that. Let's go with option B and just mark that first of all. Let's go to the next question. And the next question is, which one of the following countries or empires did not invade ancient Egypt? So which one of the following countries or empires did not invade ancient Egypt? Now we have a few different options here. So in this case, it is going to be D, which is England, because England did not even exist at that particular time. Okay, so England is your answer in this case. All right, so let's just select this answer and go to the next question. Let's have a look. So identify which of the following statements about Cleopatra is false. Then choose the correct answer. So Cleopatra, who was a queen at the time. So identify which of the following statements about Cleopatra is false. And that's question number 4. Well, in this case, we can see that she was the last ruler of Egypt. We know that is not true because there were other pharaohs that actually came after Cleopatra as well. So let's just select this particular answer now, answer C, and go on to the next one. So why were the pyramids built in their specific shape? Why were they built in their specific shape? I would say that the answer is going to be D, because to represent the beginning of time according to Egyptian mythology. All right, so let's go on to the next one. Again, these answers are all within the context of the comprehension. Sometimes you have to be subjective as well. Which god did Egyptians believe to be the first god, according to this particular question? Well, the first god in this case was the sun god. Okay, and let's just click that. And let's go on to question number 7. How did the dead kings make sure they were comfortable in the afterlife? How did the dead kings make sure that they were comfortable in the afterlife? And for question number 7, the correct answer is going to be they got buried with precious items, and sometimes spells were written on them. Okay, so the answer in this case is A. So that's the comprehension done. We're now moving on to the vocabulary side of things. So let's look at the first question. The first question states, let's just read this out. Identify the word that has the same or similar meaning to the word strenuous. So identify the word that has the same or similar meaning to the word strenuous. So in this case, strenuous is going to be vigorous. Okay, vigorous, something that's too difficult to do, takes a lot of energy, a lot of strain. strenuous and vigorous mean exactly the same thing. All right, let's go on to question number 9. Identify the word that has the same or similar meaning to the word unwilling. So if you're unwilling, that means you are reluctant. So B is going to be the correct answer. Always make sure that you look at all the options first of all, cancel out all the options that have nothing to do with this particular main word in the question, and then rank your words accordingly, and then you'll end up with 2 or 3 particular words, and then you can decide what the answer is. Let's go on to the next question. Identify the word that has the same or similar meaning to the word catastrophe. Catastrophe. So in this case, I would say that the answer is disaster, because if there's a catastrophe, it's likely that it's a disastrous situation. Okay, let's lock this answer in and go on to the next question. So identify the word that has the same or similar meaning to the word concerning in the options below. So let's have a look what's going to give us concerning as an answer here. In this case, I would say it's likely to be C. The reason it's likely to be C is because this particular assessment is concerning 11 plus. This particular assessment is about the 11 plus exams. Okay, so let's lock that answer in and go on to the next one. So identify the word that has the same or similar meaning to the word fable. Fable. So fable is actually a story, another name for a story. Let's go on to the next question. Identify the word that has the same or similar meaning to the word intrepid. Intrepid. What do we think here? Okay, let's have a look at these. It's a bit of a difficult word. I would say that in this case, the word is going to be fearless. Okay, so intrepid and fearless mean exactly the same thing. That means that you are not scared, okay, of anything. So good, let's lock that in. And now we have moved on to opposite words. So let's read this new section together. Identify the word that has the opposite meaning to the word recede. Okay, now in this case, the word recede means to move backwards. All right, advance means to move forward in that case. So advance is going to be the opposite and the correct answer for this question. Remember, we're doing opposites. Recede means to move backwards. Advance means to move forwards. Okay, so let's just lock this particular question in and move on to the next one. There we go. So identify the word that is opposite meaning to the word welcome. Okay, so welcome means that you're greeting someone. So the opposite word is to reject someone, to reject someone. So let's lock that in and go on to the next one. The next question that we have is superfluous. Okay, superfluous means something that's not very essential or not very important. Something that can also be unnecessary in this case, something that can be unnecessary, all right? So in this case, the opposite word to superfluous is going to be essential. Let's go on to the next one. Identify the word that is the opposite meaning to the word unlucky. And I would say that it is fortunate, because fortunate means that you're lucky, okay? Okay, now this case, we're looking for the word opposite to the word faultless, faultless. So my particular mobile phone is faultless. That means there are no problems with my mobile phone. However, the opposite word will be defective. Defective means that there are certain issues and problems. Let's lock this answer in and move on to the last one in the opposite section. Now we're looking for the opposite word for disclose, disclose. So in this case, disclose means that I reveal something to you, okay? And the opposite of disclose is to hide something. So there we go. That's the opposite section done. And now we're moving on to a new section. So let's just read this question out together. In the sentence below, one word is missing. Please complete the sentence by identifying the appropriate word from the options below. Okay, so this is like closed passages. So in this case, the Romans like to visit open air something to watch plays. So in this case, I would say that they like to watch open air theaters, because in this case, the Romans did not have cinemas in those days. They didn't have arcades in those days, and they could have had swimming pools possibly, but they don't go to visit open air swimming pools to watch plays. Plays are only conducted in theatres. All right, so let's lock this answer in and move on to the next one. In the sentence below, one word is missing. Please complete the sentence by identifying the appropriate word from the options below. Again, the second question for closed passages. So the swallow flies south in the winter, spring, autumn, or summer. Now, birds in our country always fly south in the winter, because during the winter period, there are no insects or worms around for them to scavenge and find food. So they will fly south in the winter, somewhere like Spain or Morocco, in Northern Africa or Southern Europe, where it's much, much warmer and they can find food. Okay, so let's lock in this answer. Answer is winter, and move on to the next one. Okay, the Egyptians built the Great Pyramids as tombs for pharaohs to assist them into the, what particular answer are we looking for now? So the answer here is going to be in the afterlife. That's one of the reasons why Egyptians, as we know from the comprehension, produce tombs to put in their dead pharaohs so they can enjoy themselves and have a good life in the afterlife. Okay, let's move on to the last question, the closed passages section. Joseph takes a water bottle to school every day in order to stay hydrated. So when you don't have enough water, you could become dehydrated, but when you have plenty of water, you are hydrated. And there's a lesson for you all to make sure you're always drinking water regularly throughout the day. So let's lock this answer in, move on to the new section. And this particular section is what we call shuffle sentences. Okay, shuffle sentences. So now we are on shuffle sentences. So let's have a quick look at the shuffle sentence question and see what it's asking us. The words in the following table can be rearranged to make a sentence. So rearrange the words to make a sentence and identify the word that does not fit into the sentence. Okay, so now we need to rearrange these words to make sure that they fit in to an appropriate sentence. So any word that does not fit into an appropriate sentence is not likely to be the answer. So let's have a look at this. So I would say that this particular question is going to be a collection of owls is called a parliament. So a collection of owls is called a parliament. So when we say a collection of birds, we say a flock of birds. But when it comes to owls, the correct word is actually parliament, which means flock in this case is going to be the wrong word and it doesn't fit into the sentence. Okay, so we choose E for flock. All right, so let's lock this in and go on to the next question. Again, the same thing applies here. The words in the following table can be rearranged to make a sentence. Rearrange the words to make a sentence and identify the word that does not fit into the sentence itself. So let's see what happens here. So in this case, let's have a look at these words. So I would say that to make an omelette, you need some eggs. To make an omelette, you need some eggs. So we don't need B. So B, flour, does not make sense in the context of this sentence. So we will select B as our answer. Let's move on to the third question in shuffle sentences. So let's have a look at this. Children, bands, their new loom craze is for. Does it make sense? Let's rearrange this sentence so it actually makes sense. So let's say there is a new craze for loom bands. All right, there is a new craze for loom bands. A few years ago, there was a new craze for loom bands. Just in case if you don't understand what loom bands are, they're like small, colorful bracelets that children used to wear around their wrist, and they became incredibly popular at one time. All right. So in this case, I would say that the correct answer is A. A, children, does not fit into the context of this particular sentence. So let's choose A and move on to the next question. Okay, so this is question number 4 within shuffle sentences. So let's have a look and investigate this particular sentence of 4. I would say never ever touch a plug with wet hands. Never ever touch a plug with wet hands. That means in this case, A is our answer that doesn't fit within this context of the sentence. Now, why is this the case? Well, if you did have wet hands and you touch the plug, there's a good chance that you may get an electric shock, kids. So whatever you do, never ever touch any plug or any electricity device in that case with wet hands. Okay, let's go with electricity as our first option. Go on to the next question. Let's have a look at this and let's try and contextualize this question in our heads and run it over a few times. That's the best thing to do. So I would say in this case, the Earth is the third planet from the sun. The Earth is the third planet from the sun. So the answer in this case is going to be G, which is fourth, which doesn't quite materialize in the sentence, and that will be our answer. So let's go on to the last one in shuffle sentences in this case. Let's try and work out this sentence. So I would say the author's most favorite novel was the first. Sorry, the author's most favorite novel was the first. And this one you can move it around a little bit, jumble up the words. It doesn't matter so long as it makes sense. And the word that doesn't fit in this case is sell. Sell doesn't quite go within this sentence. The author's most favorite novel was the first. All right. And just in case you wanted to go back, by all means, make sure you stop this video and rewind backwards to check this all over again. And you can do that as well. Let's go on to the next section, which is, let's have a look. So let's read this question together. Select a word that when added to the end of, select a word that when added to the end of the word except makes a new compound word, and then choose the correct option. Okay, this makes sense. What we're doing is here, we're trying to add one of these words, A, B, C, or D, at the end of the word except to make a brand new word. All right, so let's have a look. Let's have a look in this case. What is going to be our answer? So it could be exception, acceptable, accepting, exception. Doesn't make sense, does it? No, it doesn't. So I would say that the answer is acceptable. Acceptable. All right, that's the best word to go for in this case. So let's go on to the next question. Select a word that when added to the end of the word IMP makes a new compound word. So in this case, I would say that will be the last option, D, because that will make a compound word. If you were to put them both together, it would give us improve, improve. All right, let's move on to the next one. Select a word that when added to the end of the word for gives us a new compound word. In this case, I would go with 14. So the number 14, but in this case is in words. And let's move on. So in this case, select a word that when added to the end of the word IN will make a new compound word. What can that be? I would say it will be inform. Inform is a new word. And in this case, select a word that when added to the end of the word pat, P-A-T, makes a new compound word. In this case, I would say pattern, because pattern is spelled P-A-T-T-E-R-N. And the last question in compound words, select a word that when added to the end of the word pal makes a new compound word. I would say in this case, it would be palace, P-A-L-A-C-E, palace. Okay, that's great. Now we're moving on to a couple of numerical type mathematical questions, and we need a little bit more information on this. So let's go through this now. So let's read this question together. A train leaves London at 10:40 a.m. in the morning and arrives at its final destination in Bristol at 12:02 p.m. How many minutes has the journey taken? Okay, so let's go through this one by one so you understand exactly how this particular question works. Okay, so a train leaves at 10:40 in the morning from London. So let's just highlight London, 10:40 a.m. in the morning from London. Arrives at Bristol at 12:02 in the afternoon, p.m. So how many minutes has this taken? So now we're looking at 10:40 to 12:02. All right, so how many minutes difference is there between this time? Now, first of all, let's start with 10:40 and let's go to 11 o'clock. Okay, 11 o'clock, and that gives us 20 minutes. from 10:40 to 11 o'clock. Now from 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock, that gives us 60 minutes altogether. And now from 12 o'clock to 12:02, that gives us 2 minutes altogether. Now let's add up this particular column. 20 minutes add 60 minutes is 80 minutes. 80 minutes add 2 minutes is 82 minutes. And 82 minutes will be our correct answer. Okay, so let's go for 82 minutes and move on to the next question. Let's read this question together. The pictogram below shows the average number of hours of sunshine from April through to September. How many average hours of sunshine were there in July and August all together? Okay, let's go through this together then. So the pictogram below shows the average number of hours of sunshine from April to August. April to September, how many average hours of sunshine were there in July and August? So now looking from this question, we can see our key on the right-hand side, and the key tells us that one sunshine gives us 3 hours altogether. Okay, so now we're only looking for the hours of sunshine in July and August. So let's count these up all together one by one. Okay, so I'm just going to use a different colored pen so you can see what I'm doing. So this is 3, add 3, add 3, add 3, again add 3, add 3, add 3, add 3. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 times 3 altogether gives us 24 hours of sunshine. All right, so your answer in this case is going to be 24 hours of sunshine. So let's select section B. Okay, that's great. Now we're on some more further numerical maths reasoning questions. So let's do this together. So for the first question, it's asking us, what is the sum of 23 add 43 add 81? So we have to, sum means add. So we do 23 add 43 add 81. That gives us 7, 4, 5, 6, 14. And the answer in this case is 147. So let's select 147 as the correct answer. Next question, if 3,600 divided by 50 is 72, what is 3,600 divided by 25? Now, in this case, what we can do is